All right. So thank you so much. So first of all, maybe give us a little bit of overview of sort of who you are, where you are, what what you're working on, a little bit about your team structure, stuff like that.
Okay. My name is Nikolaos Dimos, and my current role is Vice President of Engineering at a company named Workable. Workable is all-in-one recruiting platform, and we are seeking to streamline the hiring process and make it easy to post jobs and get candidates and manage applicants all in one place. I have been building software for the last 15 years. I have started as a software engineer, building software for telecom operators. During the early days of my career, I had the privilege to work on many projects with strict performance and reliability specifications. This gave me the opportunity to become good at high throughput distributed systems. It also showed me the importance of time management while serving different clients. Then back in 2014, I have joined Workable. It was a mental shift from the project-based company I used to work to a product company. I have started building web applications, and gradually I enriched my tech stack with front-end technologies. While after that, we started building more sophisticated applications that required huge amounts of data processing. We collaborated with a team of data scientists, and we built a rich platform of sourcing, capabilities for the Workable product. Time has passed and the company thrived, and the team scaled from 10 to 25 to 50 engineers. And we had to tackle architectural problems for the teams to run efficiently. We introduced microservices and event sourcing while trying to slim down the big monolith on the backend side of things. And we introduced a design system with React components and lately micro frontends for the front-end side of things. Now I'm managing 6 different teams. During this 9-year tenure at Workable, I have transitioned my professional career from an individual contributor to a team leader, and then to an engineering manager, and finally to the engineering director that I am today. And this process was built organically over the time, giving me the opportunity to adjust to the different modes of work.
Great.
Currently, the effective number of the engineering team members that I'm responsible for is 30. We are organized into different teams called squads. They are composed of 3 to 4 engineers. Each team is responsible for a specific code space in the product, and there are backend teams and front-end teams. The backend and front-end teams responsible for a specific product area are organized into a tribe. So the inter-team communication is pretty high on them. We have also the concept of chapters, where team members of different teams that are using the same technology are forming a chapter. We have currently in the company, we have the Node.js chapter, we have the Ruby chapter, and the front-end chapter, where we are using React as a technology. Each chapter has its own roadmap. For instance, the Node chapter meets regularly and contributes to the open source Node.js framework we have built. This framework is called Orca, and it's essentially the framework that empowers the Node.js microservices that we have.
Nice. Okay, very cool. That sounds really awesome. I mean, I'm a big fan of Workable. We actually use Workable at UpStack ourselves. For hiring, especially for our internal positions. It's a super awesome tool, super easy to use. It's fun. It's a great applicant tracking system. I don't know if that's what you guys call it, but generally, applicant tracking system is sort of the space of, where it would be playing in. There's probably more that it does than that as well, because I know that you can also post jobs and there's other stuff that you can do in the sort of applicant, hiring process. But it's a great tool. And it's a part of our partner network as well. We also offer it, and promote you guys to our clients and to our developers as well as a tool that they can use. So it's super cool to meet you, and I definitely appreciate having a chat. I think what I'm interested to find out about is what a typical day looks like for you. It must be pretty busy managing these 6 teams and in total 30 people, and probably all of the other responsibilities that you have. What does a typical day look like? And also maybe if you want to touch on the remote versus office stuff as well, and maybe talk a little bit about that. But what a typical day looks like, how many meetings there are, or not you don't have to go into every detail, but just on a high level, how a day looks.
Yeah. Actually, a typical day looks like having a huge amount of meetings, and this is normal as I try to balance my time between teams and between breadth and depth of thinking. Different teams have different requirements. Some teams need the operational help, as they might be on the critical path of delivering a feature, while others need setting their long-term goals and looking at where they need to be going in the future and what they need to get there. Others have organizational needs, so helping them with hiring is also in the game. Code reviews and design document reviews are also key activities during my day-to-day life. And finally, I'm regularly tracking the KPIs that my teams are responsible for, and try to be proactive if something goes wrong. During COVID-19 and the proliferation of remote working, some tools became essential. Workable had the concept of remote working since its inception, as our lead designer was working remotely since 2012. The policy we have is that you can work fully remotely or semi-remotely, meaning that some days you work from the office, some days you work from home, or fully from the office. I choose the last one, as we have a great office space here in Athens, and it's really close to my home. And during summer times, it has great air conditioning, and we have food and beverages. So why not come here? To that extent, as the teams are distributed, we need some tools to embrace collaboration. We use Google Meet for our meetings and Slack for internal communication, and these are the one I could not live without. Another one would be Miro. Before starting a new product initiative, we are used to having a design sprint introduced. The concept introduced by Google Ventures. This aligns all team members on what we will start building. And this process used to be done in a physical room with lots of sticky notes on the walls and a huge whiteboard. But now, with remote working, we use Miro for these team ceremonies.
Yeah, but I saw on your LinkedIn that you have people all around the world. I think you have 2/3 of the people are in Greece, but then you have a whole bunch in the US and even some in the UK and other places. So is that a new thing, or before COVID you were all in Greece and everyone was sort of in one location, or you've already started to do the distributed remote work even before the whole pandemic?
Actually, since the inception of the company started here in Greece, the engineering team. We had a sales person in the UK for the first three years of the company. We used to operate in a distributed fashion, meaning the engineering team in an office here in Athens, the lead designer in an island, a beautiful island called Crete, and the salesperson we had in London. So from the beginning, we had the setup for being remote. Then, as the company started having more clients in Europe, we went build office in the Boston where the marketing and the sales department got more people there. So from the fifth year of the company, we had 3 locations, Boston, London, and Athens. And then we expanded to Australia and had some clients in Australia, actually some clients in New Zealand. And so we got a sales development representative and an account manager in Australia, and pretty much that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
So from the beginning of the company, we were working in a distributed fashion. So it wasn't hard for us to switch to fully remote.
Nice.
When the COVID came.
Okay, very cool. Excellent. So I've got a question for you about sort of just generally building products. Is there sort of anything sort of cool that you really built? Or for me, I find, I'm also an engineer and a product person, and what really motivates me and probably most of the developers that I speak to is that feeling of releasing a new product or knowing that your product is being used by a lot of people at scale or something like that. Is there like a sort of a moment in time where you can think of with Workable or even with something else you worked on with one of your own projects or your open source project where you were like, wow, this really feels amazing to know that I built this product and people are using it and they love it, and it's something you want to share in that area?
Yeah, actually I have 2 examples. One cool thing that I have built with 2 of my friends was during a hackathon contest organized by PayPal back in 2015. We managed to use PayPal APIs and build a product where you could pay with your face. Back then, face recognition was not so popular as a means of authentication, authorization as it is now. So our product looked very pioneering, and we won the local competition. And it gave us the opportunity to visit Silicon Valley and the PayPal headquarters. It was a really well-organized hackathon. 12 teams from different cities from all the world had a chance to visit Silicon Valley and compete for the big prize. It was an amazing experience, and one that could open your eyes to what is being built at the heart of innovation. A great initiative from PayPal to make the APIs of Braintree, its payment provider, more popular across the startup ecosystem at that time.
Very nice.
And another moment that I would definitely say that I felt really satisfied was when we built People Search, a sourcing functionality offered by Workable. And it was a project developed by 2 different teams. I was responsible for one of the teams. The other team was data scientists who specializes in machine learning and building deep learning models. What made it so exciting was that we were trying to solve a very interesting engineering problem. And we had the autonomy and we had the resources to do so. And we were using cutting-edge technologies, and it made this project look really special. Out of this product, we managed to learn how to operate microservices at scale, how to build a distributed system that could create on-the-fly candidate profiles, merging different information from several sources. We integrated our work with the work of inference systems trained and tested by the data science team. We deployed the services on the cloud. We created an alerting and custom monitoring systems with product and service level KPIs. We had to refactor the logic using different tools than the initial ones. It was great. And finally, this product was released in the product and started being used by several people. And we leveraged then the People Search functionality and built the AI recruiter offering that we have at Workable. We also open sourced the several modules we used along the way. You can find them in our GitHub account. I can still remember the design meeting we had with my team members using a whiteboard, the mental alignment we had, the ideation process we used to solve the problem. It was I was really fortunate to work together with this team back then. Every team member had something to offer apart from the technical competency they had.
Very nice. Cool. I'm sure that felt fantastic once you got that into the hands of users and you actually see them, interacting with that. That's a cool story. Thanks for sharing. So I do have a question. Actually, I don't want to get too distracted on this point, but it's something that I'm actually trying to work out myself is KPIs. KPIs are pretty easy with the sales and marketing teams and things like that, because you've got a very clear objective in terms of booking meetings, closing deals, revenue, things like that. We have some KPIs in our own engineering team, but I'm curious to know what KPIs you guys have that become meaningful. I mean, obviously, tracking lines of code is probably not a very meaningful KPI in an engineering team, because sometimes you want to have less KPIs. But what sort of KPIs would you find would be meaningful for an engineering team?
Actually, we distinguish the KPIs between product KPIs and engineering KPIs. Each product team has its own product KPIs. Let's say we find that if we want to have more to increase the conversion rate of trial user to a paid customer, we have found that if the customer opens a job and gets 5 candidates between the first 5 days of the account, this is the wow moment for our customers. So you have to find the wow moments for your customers and build on this. So this is a KPI for the sourcing team that we have, meaning that we have to integrate with many job boards like LinkedIn, Indeed, Seek, which is very popular in Australia. Last month, we released many features concerning these integrations with these job boards. And we see the number of jobs having more than 5 candidates in 5 days increase. So this would be the North Star for the product North Star for this engineering team. All engineering teams share some KPIs that are related to the quality of the code they write. So meaning we have KPI about the number of bugs hitting production. We have a different KPI about the number of bugs hitting the testing phase that we have. We also have KPIs about how fast you respond to the bug that hits production, how fast do you resolve it. We have different critical levels. We have a critical that have different SLAs if the bug is affecting a lot of customers that we have. We also have a KPI about how many release cycles we have per week. We have many different teams having many different microservices. We need to have the ability to release software as soon as possible. And we also have some financial, let's say, KPIs for some teams that are in line with the business KPIs, the ones that the sales teams have. This year, we made the transition from a more sales-driven approach to a more self-service approach for our customers. And the KPI for the team, the platform team that built the new billing functionality was, let's say, a big amount of revenue coming through this stream, through this self-service offering that we've built.
Very nice. That's cool. That's interesting to see. It sounds like there's a pretty tight collaboration between product and engineering, which is great. Excellent. So I think we've covered a little bit about you, a little bit about, shipping products, the tools that you use. I do have a question for you. You said you're based in Athens yourself. Is there something that you love about Athens? Do you want to share something that you like? Certain places you like going, certain cafes you like going to? I think a lot of the time what I've found is that people, they just box people in and think, okay, someone's from Athens or someone. I mean, we have engineers from all around the world in all different locations. And sometimes it's nice to really hear about what it's like on a day-to-day basis, places you love, stuff you like doing, things like that.
I think that living here in Athens is a statement of life for me. We have great weather, and I have the chance during the weekends to do whatever I want, meaning that I do windsurfing during winter, I do windsurfing during summer. I used to do kite surf, but now my wife is expecting a child, so I stopped doing this. Thank you. Stop doing this sport. During winter, I love to go skiing or snowboarding. We have some mountains here that have really good facilities to snowboard. So you can easily mix a world-class engineering job like the one that I am having here at Workable, that I have exposure to the challenges employees of big companies have in the world, and having also good weather and living a good life and having a work-life balance.
Very cool. Nice. So a question that a lot of engineers ask me, there are a lot of developers that, really love being a developer. They might, move up to be a senior engineer and things like that, different positions. What would you say to a developer who was considering to become a VP of engineer or to move into some sort of engineering management role? What would be your, how would you help them work out if they want to do it? I know it's probably not for everyone. What would you say to someone who was thinking of moving from being more of a sort of senior engineer to, VP roles?
Okay, I would say think twice. As an engineer, your main job is to write code. So you get a problem, you try to find ways to solve it using the tools the company has. You build software to solve it, you test it, get feedback, and you try to solve it better. You test again, and finally you ship it in one way or another to production. You get this rewarding excitement that urges you to move on to the next problem. You feel really productive. Then you become too good in solving the problems of the company you work for, and you solve them quicker. You try to optimize the process they are solved. You become, let's say, the aficionado in domain you work. And time comes and you get a promotion, and your manager tell you that the needs of the customers are increasing, so we will have to expand the team you are working for. And as an aficionado in your domain, you will become a team leader, a small team of 4 members, let's say. And now you are a manager, but no one tells you what to do to be successful. You have this mental list of things about your team needs, things to monitor, things to fix, things you are trying to find for your team members. Now your job is to understand what is going on and to what the team as a whole needs to be effective. And your current inclination would be to look at the state of things and say, we have a deadline right now, and what we need is another engineer for the next month. That engineer is me, and you revert back to the previous comfort zone of writing code and solving problems. By doing this, you neglect that your team needs a manager, because a manager needs to hire way more people, or because Alice from your team has a lot of potential, but she needs some coaching, because product or design or some other team hasn't given you what you need, so you need to go and get it. So if you are not a good engineer for one day, you feel bad. But not being good as a manager would be a choice you inflicted on other people, and that's not fair.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, if you need to dive in and start coding yourself, or if you're really getting involved in the code, and you're probably not being the best engineering manager, probably that, if you're doing a good job as an engineering manager, your team would be all, your job is to much more unlock and empower the team to actually get stuff done. And if you're diving in to do stuff or to actually code, then probably you're not doing the best job as an engineer. And that's sort of what I'm hearing, but I'm not sure if that's...
Yeah, there is a specific reason that some companies have as a ladder the individual contributor ladder. The one that if you like to code, but you don't like a lot of interactions with, let's say, how I'm going to scale the team. I don't want to participate in many interviews, but what I love to do is writing code. Then you should focus in this area to become proficient in the code language that you like, in the technology that you like, and be an individual contributor. And there is a different ladder, the one that is the engineering manager, where you were a good engineer, and sometimes you were a very good individual contributor, but you feel that you have more things to offer in your company, that the work of your team could be leveraged by the actions that you do more than by being an individual contributor. This is the sweet spot that you should find and switch from an individual contributor to engineering manager.
I'm looking at your LinkedIn now, and I can see that in a few years ago, maybe 2000, it says around about 2018, you switched over from being officially according to your title, from being a senior software engineer to VP of engineering. Like, what happened? Was that something that you wanted to do, or that was something that the rest of the team was saying, hey, you're the man, you're the guy to do this,
It was, as I said before, it was as the company scaled, it was I organically scaled with the company. I came here as at Workable as a senior engineer, and then I had to scale the team to serve the customers that we had, and I started building a strong team. So I was promoted to a team leader, and as a team leader, my work changed from building a software for the specific team to trying to tackle architectural problems that we had as the team grew from 20 to 50 engineers. We found that above 50 engineers, the well-known Conway's law, that the structure of the team that you have reflects on the architectural design of the company. Back in 2015, we had a big monolith, and when we started scaling the team, it was not as productive as switching to microservices, let's say. And I sensed this problem early on, and what we did was to transform the way data was stored from the monolith. We switched to event sourcing, and this gave the opportunity to other teams to share the data more effectively. And after the 50, which was a tipping point for us, then my work was transformed to a more managerial position.
Perfect. That makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like it was pretty organic, but it's also probably something that you naturally wanted to do. That sounds really cool. So the next thing I want to ask you is, sounds like there's a lot of sort of team building and management of different people that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Are there any sort of tips, tricks, or stories that you want to tell in relation to team building or helping people through burnout and things like that? Like, how do you deal with the human aspect of your team? I mean, with such a large team, everyone has a life. How do you keep everyone motivated? How do you keep everyone, how do you help them avoid burnout, things like that?
Yeah. Actually, there are, let's say, some dimensions about team building that you have to think of. Experts in organizational behavior have found that teams working as a cohesive unit perform far better than collections of individuals for tasks that require enormous amount of information. So in software development, specifically, the complexity, speed, and diversity of changes needed for modern software systems make teams essential. So the team size is the first dimension that you have to look for. a stable grouping of 5 to 9 people who work toward the shared goal as a unit has the potential to become an effective team. So the first dimension is the team size. The second dimension is the time to form the team. Typically, a team can take from 2 weeks to 3 months to become a cohesive unit. It is well known, the Tuckman model that describes the phases of the team formation, known as forming, storming, norming, and performing. These phases take time to develop. So team structures optimized for problems that are temporary or limited in scope, rather than adaptive to new problems over time, is not the correct approach. Long-lived teams with trust have the potential to be effective. The third dimension is ownership and autonomy. The example that I gave you before about building the sourcing capabilities of Workable was my wow moment in building software. That was because we had the ownership and the autonomy, and we were a small and long-lived team, and we had the potential to be effective, and we did. And finally, the fourth dimension, and this comes back to what you originally asked, is the cognitive load. You have to ensure that the cognitive load on a team is not too high. A team working for an ever-increasing code base with domains of responsibility or a number of applications above its capacity makes it impossible to evolve the software under its responsibility. A small, long-lived team with autonomy, ownership, and the right cognitive load has the potential to be effective. So, if the team members that are working for such teams, having all the above in mind is a good starting point when thinking about teams and scaling.
Okay. That really makes a lot of sense. I think that the final sort of topic I wanted to talk about is about sort of remote, hybrid, in the office and things like that. It sounds like most of your engineering team are in Athens. Are they all based in Athens now, or is everyone now during the last 2 years sort of spread out into other locations? That's one question. The other question is do you think that you'll go fully remote, and do you think that will become the norm, moving forward, to become normal for companies sort of structure themselves like that? Or do you think people are going to want to return to the office, or more of what they call this hybrid sort of model? First of all, how does that apply to you and your team? And then how do you think it applies to a general trend?
As I mentioned before, the lead designer we had was working fully remotely since the beginning of the company. After COVID, I have some examples of my co-workers who moved into their parents' house, not in Athens, in different locations around Greece. We have some engineers that we had them in Thessaloniki, which is the second biggest city here in Greece. We have many engineers that are located in Crete. A lot of them actually are front-end engineers, and we have hopes here saying that all of the engineers in Crete learn how to write React. We have many engineers in some other cities in Greece. So the current situation is that we have a group of engineers that are working fully remotely from their hometowns. We have a group of engineers who use the hybrid approach. I mean, sometimes in the office, sometimes from their home. And we have some examples that they want to be fully located in the office, as they might not have the room in their house to work in an efficient way. I believe that COVID-19 was, let's say, a tipping point for companies to get to know of the remote kind of work. And a lot of them tried it, and it was an effective way to work. I believe that hybrid is the way of working that will prevail essentially. And the reason of that is that of the logistic that I said. There are different needs for different people, and the hybrid approach works for everyone.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Excellent. So I think it was really great chatting. I think we could probably speak for hours. I'm fascinated. We have our own engineering team. I'm just trying to learn about ways to improve. I learned a lot from you. I'm going to check out Miro again. I've used that tool before, but I'm going to check out again because I'm desperate for these different sorts of remote collaboration tools. And I'm excited to try that out. I also liked what you were talking about, these different squads and giving them those independence. It gave me a few ideas. So I'm leaving this with a lot of different ideas and stuff for me to go back and think about with our own internal team. So I definitely appreciate it. And unless there's anything else you want to add, we could pretty much wrap up there. I suppose the only last thing I'd ask you is, for engineers that want to come and work at Workable, what do you normally tell them? Like, what do you normally say to them? Why they should come and work at Workable? Why your team's different? Why is it different to other options they have? And that sort of stuff.
I would say to them that it's a cool company to work. It gives you international exposure, and the problems that you solve here at Workable are the problems that big companies like Google and Facebook face. So the experience you're gonna get is it's enormous, and it will be a good weapon for you in the future.
Awesome. It was great chatting. Thank you so much.